Live from Paradise Studios in New York, Strong Island Television presents Under the Radar, starring Randy Unger. Brought to you by Magnitude Jewelry. Add a 2 to match your attitude. Tonight, Randy will be interviewing filmmaker Tim Disney of the new drama William. Randy will also be reviewing the new films The Best of Enemies and Shazam with special guest critics Rachel Cole, Caitlin Crowley, and Dan Shaggy GB. And now, here's your host, Randy Unger.
Hey guys, I'm Randy Unger, and this is another edition of Under the Radar, where we talk all things film. And right now I have on the phone filmmaker Tim Disney of the new drama William, which tells the story of a Neanderthal man who has been bred but from Neanderthal DNA, only to grow up and be raised and live in modern day society. And right now I've got Tim Disney on the phone. Tim, hello.
Hello.
So the film is very interesting, very unique. I really enjoyed it. How did it originally come about?
Well, thank you for having me on, first of all.
Sure.
I got interested in this idea because I'm kind of a nerdy book reader guy, and I went on a reading binge about the emergence of early humans. Okay. And, of course, the Neanderthals are often discussed in that, of course, because they figure in the story. And they're always a little bit written off as the losers in the competition for survival with the more intelligent Homo sapiens. And I got a little irritated with that and thought, history is written by the living, maybe prehistory too. And what if the Neanderthals died off because they were better than us? What if they were more virtuous than us, that the special quality we always impute to human sapiens has a sinister side? And that was sort of the core of the idea, and then it developed into what it is now, which is, I think, really more of a story about otherness, about what it is like to grow up in the world being different or feeling different and how the world treats you.
And now you kind of like flipped it, like Homo sapiens are actually more of the less advanced monsters, I guess, is for lack of a better word.
Yeah, it may be the case.
Nice. So what was it like casting the film? So it's a really diverse group of actors.
Well, we have such a wonderful cast. I feel so fortunate to have found them. Casting William, in particular, was difficult because we needed someone who was a great actor, but also had some of the physical attributes that were really important for the role. So we had to find someone who was a tall, skinny person would have been hard to cast in the role.
Right.
And so we found this magnificent actor named Will Britton, who, since we filmed this, has gone on and getting lots of really interesting parts, and I think he's a real emerging talent.
How did you discover Mr. Britton?
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
How did you discover Will Britton?
We did a lot of casting. We had a fantastic casting director named Susan Shopmaker, and we saw many, many, many people until we discovered him. Okay.
Great. And what about the rest of the cast? You've got Maria Dizia. She's obviously known for her television work. Walid, I can't pronounce. Zateur?
Zuader.
Okay. How did they come on board? What was that process like?
The casting of a movie is a strange process because it's you have your wish list, and then you have the people who are available. And the people who are on your wish list are people who work all the time. Yeah. And yet sometimes you can get folks on your wish list if they really like your material and their schedule happens to open up at the right time. It's a very difficult, fraught process of trying to work a lot of angles all at the same time, hoping that everything lines up. I think that we ended up with a fantastic cast. Maria Dizia is so great. Yeah. I think she's known more as a comedic actress. Right. Like on Orange is the New Black, she's very well known for that. But she's a magnificent actress, and I think she really enjoyed the opportunity to play a more serious role.
Nice. Now, you just spoke briefly of challenges in casting. What were some of the other challenges you guys faced on set?
Well, I think the number one thing we were concerned about going into it was how to physically represent the Neanderthal, what kind of makeup situation it was going to require, would it be believable, how much time it would take, how much it would cost, and all of that kind of stuff. And we found a great specialty makeup artist named Stevie Bettles, who started actually working on the Muppets, of all things, many years ago. And he has a unique process where rather than gluing on the appliances, which is the traditional technique, that he prints them essentially onto Band-Aid-like self-adhesive strips. And that sped up the process enormously. We had built into the budget a lot of money for digital cleanup afterwards, and we did do some of that.
Okay.
But the makeup was so good that we didn't really have to do much of that.
That's very cool.
So I find his look to be totally believable, and after the first few minutes of the movie, you just forget about it. It just seems that's who he is. In fact, I saw Will Britton just the other night at a screening we had in here, LA, and it throws me every time I see him as a normal human being without his makeup on.
That's cool. So I'm curious, what do you hope audiences take away from the film?
Well, I think the science fiction aspect of it, the science fiction premise is interesting, and the science is interesting, and we work very hard to make the science believable and plausible. But really, I think it's a family drama.
Right.
Really, it's about growing up in a broken home, feeling different, asserting your own identity. I think his Neanderthalness, if I can put it that way, is a proxy for race, perhaps. You know, he's an immigrant. He's a young African American man in a hoodie. He's anyone who society sees as different and perhaps even dangerous.
Now, was that your intention to really highlight that theme of feeling alone within society?
Yes, I think that was a core part of the idea. And then the other core idea, I think, it revolves around the idea of stories and how we create them to explain ourselves, to fit ourselves into a group and to exclude others from that group.
Okay.
Those were the core ideas.
Nice. Now, I'm curious, you did mention very briefly in the film Encino Man. Was that sort of an underlying influence for this film?
I don't know that I loved Encino Man. I saw it as a kid. I don't know that it was an influence for this film. I think that was a humorous reference to how the first idea we had about early man or Neanderthals or something like that. That's or it also when I was developing the idea and I would tell people about it, they would say, "Oh, like Encino Man," and I would say, "Like, no, not like Encino Man." But there was no escaping Encino Man, so I had to put it in there.
Right. I'm curious though. So, who are some of your filmmaker influences?
Oh my God! You know, I'm really a generous critic, I would say, in that I like everything. Anything that is sincere, I love. So, you know, all the great Alexander Payne is a fantastic filmmaker.
Yeah.
You know, Paul Anderson, what an amazing filmmaker. You know, down the usual list. I don't have, you know, I love French movies. I love big movies.
Right.
I love little movies. anything that is true to itself, I like.
Cool. And now, speaking of filmmakers, you are the great nephew of Walt Disney, and I just wanted to know, what is it like being a Disney?
Well, I guess it's like being named Tim Coca-Cola or something. I mean, it's a brand name of an enormous scale. So I'm certain the benefits outweigh the disbenefits, and it's given me all kinds of interesting opportunities in life. And on the other hand, I can't use my credit card without enduring questions from people. So there's a little bit of a lack of anonymity that's a little annoying at times. But as somebody once said to me, it's a name to be proud of rather than a name to be ashamed of. And
of course.
So I'm really grateful for it. I had to. My dad worked there when I was a kid. I worked there as a young man, and I really treasure those experiences.
Yeah. Speaking of which, what was it like working on Oliver and Company?
I mean, that was a great experience. That was basically my first job out of college, and that was right at the time that the studio was reviving the animation department.
Yeah.
And it was really exciting. So, I co-wrote the screenplay for that movie, which at the time was the biggest selling animated movie of all time.
Wow.
And a big deal because it was the first new movie that the company had made after deciding to really recommit to animation. In the office next to mine was Howard Ashman writing the music for The Little Mermaid. As I was trying to type, I would hear him playing songs and, composing, figuring out the lyrics. And at the time I found that annoying because it was disturbing my concentration. But, that went on to be an unbelievable hit and followed by other hits. I wrote a treatment for what became The Lion King. I claimed no authorship over that because I was one of thousands and thousands of people who contributed ideas to that. But it was really a wonderful experience to be part of that at that time because there was such excitement about what could happen, and each movie was just getting better and better and better as they went along. I have lots of friends from those days and really treasure that connection.
Yeah, you're basically you're part of a huge team of people who redefined animation. That was the Disney Renaissance. 1989 was The Little Mermaid, the first movie of which to usher in a huge bevy of classic films. What was it like? What was the energy like in that office?
The thing I often say to people about that is that it was a culture of quality, that the 95% effort wasn't good enough. So we would come up with stuff and then we would show it to people and everybody would have comments, and then we would work it again and work it again and work it again. They wanted to work everything to be the best that it could possibly be.
Right.
And there are not many businesses that operate under that ethos. It was a commitment to quality.
Are you still active within Disney Studios, Disney, the organization?
I'm not active within the studio, although I have a whole lot of friends over there who still work there. I know them from those early days. I'm very active. I'm chairman of the board of an art college called CalArts, which has an animation program that graduated, many of the greatest animation talents in the country. All the founders of Pixar are CalArts graduates, and so I have a really strong connection to the animation industry through that.
Okay. Now, are you more of a fan of traditional hand-drawn animation, or do you like the new, computer-generated animation direction that we've obviously been going with within the last 20 years or so? I mean, do you prefer one over the other?
I think it's all great. It's like I said, my only standard is sincerity. So as long as the characters are real and believable and human, and the story is good, the medium doesn't matter. Those are just tools.
Yeah.
For storytelling.
Story is number one for sure. Speaking to story, what are some of your personal favorite films?
My personal favorite films. Yeah. Wow, I should have prepared for that. I have too many to reduce.
That's okay. We have some time.
I'll tell you a movie I saw recently that I was on a plane, which is not a great place to see movies, but it's sometimes a place where I see movies I wouldn't otherwise see. I watched this movie called The Writer from last year. I don't know if you saw that one.
The Writer.
Just one. The Writer. Okay. It was a very small movie made in North Dakota about young men who want to be rodeo riders. And
I heard of it, yeah.
The main actor and his family are all played by amateurs who are actually brothers and sisters and father. They play essentially themselves.
Okay.
Super powerful movie. It's a great example of you don't need much to do it.
Right.
You just need authentic performances and a good story.
And obviously, William I wouldn't say it's an independent film. I mean, it's got a pretty big budget, but it has that independent film sensibility about it. But what are your personal thoughts and opinions about indies versus blockbusters?
Well, we live in a really interesting time because there's so much material now, so much production for the streaming services, and the formats are changing now. So you have these serial dramas, you have these multi-part things, and the storytellers are allowed to create on a bigger scale than they have in the past, and that's all fantastic. And then the theaters themselves are, so that's all great. The downside is that people don't go to theaters to see small movies like ours so much anymore. They go to them to see the big movies. Yeah. So while there are lots of opportunities online, the theatrical experience has become very, very difficult for smaller movies. Every now and then, every year, there are a few that break through and get audiences, but for the most part, it's very tough. So, I mean, that's how it is for me. I generally watch smaller movies at home, and then I'll go to a theater to see, the Avengers thing or Star Wars or big movies like that. And that's okay. That's okay. That's how it is. I think when you're making a movie, I think you understand that that's how it's going to be seen, and so you have to think about it that way. I on this one, I felt so strongly about the story. It really did try to make it as cinematic as possible.
Yeah, it definitely felt that, and it had a great flow to it too. It was like kind of a very nice viewing experience, I must say.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. We had twin brothers who were the cinematographers on this movie. It was extraordinary. They are not identical twins, but they might as well be. They're so similar. And they are super talented, and it is really like having two for the price of one because they vibe each other. And it's like having a super person doing the job. Cool. And I'm so proud of what they did. They're just amazing.
Maybe your next movie can be about twin cinematographers and how they interact with society.
Yes. That reminds me, another movie I really liked from many years ago called Dead Ringers. I used to see that one.
Is that David Cronenberg?
Yes.
Okay.
That's much darker.
Yeah, a little bit. So back to the legacy of Disney. You've got all these live-action versions of classic animated films that came out during your era when you were with the Disney offices, late 80s, early 90s. What are your thoughts as to all these remakes, reboots, and taking classic stories and just turning into them, just redoing them? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's a problematic undertaking creatively. I understand the business reasons for doing it. I mean, these are valuable properties, and you want to keep them alive and, create products and experiences out of them that are related, that build the brand of them. They have office buildings full of really smart people figuring out these things. It's kind of out of my realm, really, how you manage brands on a scale like that. Speaking on a smaller scale as a creative undertaking, I think it's difficult because people have such deep associations with the original material and how do you do it again, right? In a way that harmonizes with that, but is unique and new. And I think some of them have been more successful than others. Like the Jungle Book one, which I thought was really great. Yeah. I haven't seen the Dumbo one. It's getting less.
It wasn't as good as I had hoped.
Less positive.
Yeah.
When I saw that they were doing Dumbo, and it's Tim Burton, who's amazing. Right. Cal Arts graduate, by the way.
Okay.
But so I see they're doing Dumbo, and my personal reaction is, oh no, no, not Dumbo. Yeah. Because Dumbo is the most perfect, pure thing, and it should not be messed with. But I'm a cranky old guy, so I don't know. That's why they don't call to ask me, because I would say, no, don't do it, don't do it.
Well, I mean, I was excited just to see Danny Elfman's name attached to it, and the music was, the score was really terrific. Are you
sure it is. I mean, it's, yeah.
Are you a big score guy? Are you into soundtracks and scores?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Who are some of your favorite composers?
Thomas Newman.
Nice.
Mark Isham. Ryuichi Sakamoto. And on down the list, there's so many great ones. Nice. The gentleman that I worked with on this movie is named Craig Wedren. He did a great job on this movie. Okay. Fantastic. And it's really my favorite part of the whole thing. Working with the music is just such a joy.
Right. It really elevates the feel of the film. And I'm a huge score buff, so yeah, like Jerry Goldsmith, Danny Elfman, Hans Zimmer, those are some of my favorites.
Oh, yeah.
But,
completely.
Yeah.
completely. There's a story about the creation of Star Wars, and I don't know how true this is, but it sounds right to me that George Lucas did a screening for some friends, like Steven Spielberg, right before it was done, they only had temp music in it. And they were all, very negative. Like, wow, I don't know. I mean, I don't think it works. It's lame. What do I say to the guy? It's terrible. And then they added the music, and genius. Like, this is fantastic. Yeah. And music does have that effect.
It really does. So, what are you working on next? Is there anything you can discuss at this time?
I have a couple of projects that I'm working on. I believe I'm about to start a documentary project about how women are depicted in film. So that's an interesting one. I have a feature project that I've started about the American Revolution. I'm very interested in that as a topic. That's kind of complicated, and it's going to take a lot of research, but I'm in the beginning phases of that, and I have a couple of other ideas as well. I also want to say that I have a production company with a partner named Bill Haney, and he just finished a fantastic documentary called Breakthrough, which is a biography, essentially, of a cancer scientist named Jim Allison, who created the first immuno-oncology drug. It's just the most amazing, beautiful, emotional story. And it's out there now. He just was at South by Southwest, and I think he's going to be at the Tribeca Festival.
Nice.
It's a great movie.
Will you be at Tribeca yourself?
I won't be, but I will be in New York next week because William is opening at the Village East Theater on April 12th.
Oh, great. Cool. Very exciting. So you're obviously a very, very curious guy. You love history. You love stuff that's happening in the world, science, scientific breakthroughs and stuff. When did this curiosity start? Was this since childhood?
Yeah, my dad was a really a broad-minded, curious person, and he was always bringing interesting information home, and the dinner table was always a place for broad-ranging conversations about lots of stuff.
Okay.
And I don't know, that's just been in me, and I'm a reader, so I just get onto things, and one thing leads to the next. The internet is a mixed blessing, but it's been good for this because you can just start following links and getting exposed to the craziest, unexpected pieces of information. So yeah, like I said, a mixed blessing, but it's been good for that.
Okay. So that's the idea so you like the idea of fiction and nonfiction kind of blending together to create an interesting story.
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this idea of stories, who controls them, who tells them, is interesting to me. And my project about the American Revolution is a little bit about that. It's I have great respect for the founding fathers, but I think we have mythologized them in a way that it maybe doesn't help us now. And so I want to do something about that.
Okay.
Basically, it's the American Revolution told a little bit from the British point of view, because their stories about it are very different than ours. And that might be instructive for us to think about it that way.
Okay. Now, is this a documentary or is this a feature?
No, it's a feature. It's a feature film.
Okay.
Feature film.
Cool. So with William, is there anyone from the cast and crew that you hope to work with again?
Any and all of them. Who was really fantastic is Beth Grant, who's also, very familiar face to people. She's on the Mindy Project. She's been in 5,000 movies. She's just fantastic. Okay. And a good friend. But any and all of the cast I would work with again in a heartbeat.
Okay. That's great. Well, Tim, I want to thank you for your time today. This has been great. The film is great. And I hope everyone sees it. When is it coming? It's coming out this week?
It opens in LA and New York next Friday, April 12th. In New York, it's at the Village East Theater. Here in LA, it's at the Laemmle Monica in Santa Monica. So everybody should come out and tell their friends. They can go to our Facebook page, William the Film, or our website, william.movie. Like us, repost us. These kind of small, off-the-beat movies live or die on word of mouth. And so I humbly ask folks to not only come out to the theater, but to spread the word if they can.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, it's such a different movie. I mean, it's a drama, it's a family drama, but he's a caveman, so it's kind of a yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of the gag of it.
Yeah.
I consider it to be the finest Neanderthal novelty movie of the year 2019.
And I think I agree with you. All right, well, Tim, I want to thank you so much again. The film is great, and yeah, if you're ever in Long Island, we'd love to have you stop by the studio for an in-person interview if you're available.
That would be wonderful. Thank you. Thanks
Great.
so much for having me.
Of course, anytime, Tim. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, guys, so we're going to take a short commercial break, but we'll be back with our film review segment right after this.
Under the Radar is brought to you by Magnitude Jewelry. Add a 2 to match your attitude. Patent pending interchange genuine gemstone and crystal EMF protection jewelry. For more information, please visit magnitudejewelry.com/gemgirl or call 718-268-6634.
Hey guys, welcome back to Under the Radar. I'm your host, Randy Unger, and this is my wonderful panel of film critics today. Rachel Kolb, Dan Shaggy GB, and Caitlin Crowley.
Hello.
How's it going, guys? Welcome back.
Doing great.
Yeah. No strangers to the couch, you guys. You've been here numerous
I
times.
can lean back.
Yeah. Sit back, relax.
Lounge in there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe we'll change the name to the show Movie Living Room or
Something like that.
The Couch.
The couch.
That's
Then
cool.
You might get a couple other things that might happen. And you're like, oh.
Yeah, I'm not going to go down that road. All right, guys. So first up, we've got The Best of Enemies. Now, I really enjoyed this one, and it takes place in 1971. Tells the relationship between Anne Atwater and who's basically this outspoken activist played by there she is Taraji P. Henson in an almost unrecognizable role, and Sam Rockwell, who is the local leader of the Ku Klux Klan.
C.P. Ellis.
Yep.
C.P. Ellis, and they must work together to bring segregation or desegregation to schools in the area of Durham, North Carolina.
The question is, are they really actually working together?
I mean, they're thrown there, not against their will.
They're thrown together, but they're not working together. They're on opposite sides of integration, of school integration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they kind of weren't. Yeah. It was.
Yeah,
It was.
not
It
working
was.
the
together,
movie's
but-
trying to make it into this, like,
Friendship
odd
head.
couple thing.
Yeah. So,
But I don't know if I would necessarily
Not
agree
working
with that
to-
classification.
Yeah.
Well, how would you describe it?
I mean, basically that. I was not as big a fan of this movie, I think, as you were.
Okay. Well, I like this purely for the performances. Everything else kind of went by the wayside, unfortunately.
I think the actors were actually all pretty good. My biggest issue is with the script, the editing, and basically the entire framing of the story.
Okay.
So basically everything else aside, or just the acting.
Well, keep going to it.
I think the best thing about this movie, the thing I liked the best, was actually John Gallagher Jr.'s performance in this movie. He plays a local business
Is he
owner.
the guy from Newsroom?
Yes.
Yeah, he's great.
He was in Newsroom,
Lovely.
10 Cloverfield Lane.
Okay.
He's just an excellent actor.
He is good.
Always very good.
He was
whatever
kind
he's
of
in.
wasted in it. Like I wanted to see more of him.
I really wanted to see more of
Yeah.
him as well.
It just focused on Taraji and Sam, really.
Yeah, and it really bothered me. Anne Hesh is also in this movie as
Right.
as Sam
CP's
Rockwell's
wife.
Yeah,
wife.
yeah. Who was also very good. Yeah.
Yeah,
Didn't
there's.
even realize it was her.
I know.
Yeah, I know.
looked,
It's
I was
like, whoa, where have you been?
She looks familiar.
Yeah.
That's good.
But there's a scene where she's talking to Anne Atwater, who's played by Taraji P. Henson, and she says, "Well, CP, he's doing his best," and it's like, is he really? Because it seems like this other guy is actually doing his best. He has, a local business, and he's employing exclusively black locals.
Yeah.
It's like, that seems like the actual doing your best.
She's
not
just supporting
the...
her husband no matter what.
Which, again, I have to be like, you married a leader of the Ku Klux Klan. I mean...
But in that time, that's why I disagree. Like, yes, the performances were amazing, but I thought this movie was incredible because it's not just, it's the history. This is what happened in this era, and just people, women at that time were not even like, they were kind of heard. So like, even if your husband was doing something at that point, regardless if it was Ku Klux Klan, whatever shenanigans he wanted to do, you were his wife, you followed your husband. That's what, and that's why she said, oh, he's just doing his best, because she really didn't have a say in what he did or not.
Right.
And I'm more of the fact of the storyline that was told because of what the history and the situation behind it. I mean, it was not just, segregation in this country is still here today. And even back then, it wasn't even just between, blacks and whites. It was men with women. Women couldn't vote at some point and, whatever. And then when, Irish need not apply, the Japanese were hauled off somewhere. With this movie, it shows us, like, this is what happened. And this is how we came through that hurdle. The performances were fantastic. I loved it. And I liked the subtlety of it. It wasn't in your face. It wasn't like, oh, the beatings and the shootings. Yes, the school caught on fire. We all know that from the trailer. But it was the subtlety of it, the subtlety of the bigger picture that was being portrayed.
Right.
That was why I liked it.
I didn't look too deeply into the story, and I don't know how accurate it is.
I did some reading up.
Okay.
I did a little bit of reading up on it. I also, generally, when I know that I'm coming on the show, I stay away from reading reviews. But there was one review that I did read before going into this, because I knew that they talked a bit about the real-life history, which was the RogerEbert.com review for it, which they gave it 1/2 star.
Oof.
And I do highly recommend giving that one a read. It's definitely very excellent. Gets into a lot of the
What was
points.
the gist?
I really don't necessarily want to but I highly recommend reading it, and I recommend also reading up more on the life of Anne Atwater. And there's also a documentary about the two real life people, about C.B. Ellis and
so
about
was this
Anne
based
Atwater.
off of the documentary in a way?
This is based off of a book. Book that was written, also called The Best of Enemies.
Okay, right.
But I if anything, at the end when they were showing the clips of the real life people, I really wanted to see more of that. And in fact, I actually wanted to see much more of the fallout after that vote. Because it feels like the vote happens, there's the thing at the gas station, and then it's like, go to roll the credits.
They just showed no spoilers.
Yes.
They just showed the positive aspects of the vote.
And they didn't really delve into, they said that, that he suffered consequences for it, and it's like, well, you could have showed us that. We had a really long runtime on this movie. And in the whole runtime of the movie, we don't really get to find out what Operation Breakthrough, like what Anne Atwater, the work that she was doing with it. They mention it, and they have the town hall meeting at the beginning, but you never get a sense of what the actual mission of Operation Breakthrough was about. On numerous occasions, whether intentional or not, I'm not going to necessarily put this on the filmmakers, intentionally or not, sometimes it's equated that it's like, oh, these people are, like, the KKK, like, literally does not believe in the humanity of black people. And on the other side, it's like, but Anne Atwater is really loud and doesn't necessarily listen to people. And it's like, well, those aren't equivalent. Not at all. Not even close.
But now, from that standpoint, think of it of what's going on right now. I mean, not trying to bring in politics, but look what's going on. Everyone's being loud. Nobody's listening to each other.
Not much has changed.
Not much has changed, and...
I
that's why I think they weren't trying. I don't think the filmmakers or anything like that were trying to make this movie like boom. They were trying to tell the story of this is the gist. Obviously, the game telephone is going to be he said, she said, this, that, and third. Nothing's really going to be 100% accurate. Nothing ever is.
This movie isn't about a political message. It's just about the two main actors showcasing them. How they are interacting with each other, and who's going to get another nomination for an Oscar.
Exactly.
That's really all it is, unfortunately. But Dan, what did you think?
I loved it. It was great. It actually brought back to me back to when you had me review Black Klansman, which again,
much better movie.
Well, I would say both of them were excellent in their ways.
True.
I wouldn't agree with that.
I thought it was really good. It was like, but it was I saw like both movies as one, like as the two different ways of looking at that snippet of time where Black Klansman it was
Not the same year, I think, right?
Yeah.
71.
Yep.
Yeah, right.
71.
Yeah, right
Around that time.
Okay.
And like with Black Klansman, it took more of a heavy hand where it was like they wanted to show both sides were equally monstrous in the way that they were doing things, where it was like one side was like just brutalizing and both just were button heads, but like in worst of ways.
Yeah.
Where this one took more of like a lighthearted kind of way, where it's like it was just heavy-handed and showing like, okay, there was some bullshit that happened there, but at the same time, it was like done with such a, you know, there's a positive on this.
Right.
Like,
It was more about the character relationships.
It's like, well, I'm not gonna spoil the ending of Black Klansman, but the ending was like, it was one of those things where you sat there and you're like, okay, even after all that's said and done, this is what happens, or this is what's gonna come, like what comes. This one, it did the same thing where it was. But it was more on, like you said, the positive end, where it was like it didn't show like, all right, there's repercussions, but it was like, oh, there's repercussions. Mm-hmm. But it's nice repercussions.
Yeah.
It has cookies.
Right, basically.
But did you have any issues with like tonally, like the switch up of the movie? Because literally this movie opens with Sam Rockwell's character going to a house with several other KKK members to shoot it up.
But the music makes it seem like it's a comedy. It's the song choice.
The tone changed. Like it was like from the beginning to to when they actually from when they got past the school. The tone changed. Like it was like a night and day.
That's all about the editing. They needed better editing.
That was the only thing I'll say I have a little bit of a problem with.
That was
ending with that first part.
Like whether you like the overall message of the movie or not, or like feel like it's taking the right tact with it. I mean, I think that that's a major issue just with it as a film, as a piece of storytelling, is that the tone is just
kind of shifts.
All over the map. All over the map.
Jumps immediately, and then it goes right back to it goes into like a happy movie. It's like, wait a minute.
And it also spends like probably about 75% of like the story, like as far as spending time with the two main characters, is spent with CP and the Klan.
Yeah.
And you get very little insight into, aside from Anne, I don't think you really get very much backstory at all with the other two mains, aside from that it's like there's the gentleman who's coming down that's leading this like meeting and everything, and then
that's
Babu
Cisse.
And then there's the other local leader who ended up going on to, I think, become the mayor.
Yeah. Right.
But other than that, what do we know about either one of these characters?
Especially Anne Atwater. They really don't get into her backstory at all.
Yeah, we get so much backstory into CP, and she is completely just like pushed out of the movie for whole segments of it. She's a way more interesting character. Yeah. And again, like another major issue that I have, unfortunately, with this, and I would love to see it. Better tackling of this material. Taraji definitely deserves better.
I agree with you, but I love Sam Rockwell, and that's the main reason I went to see this movie. But yeah, I did want to see more Taraji's story. So
absolutely.
Do you think they'll be nominated for some awards?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
I guess that goes without saying.
It is also early in the year for nominations, unless it's something like, I think that, for example, we were talking about Us the other day. I think that Us is something that's so, like, it's gonna last in people's minds next year for the nominations, but I don't think that this will. I really don't think so.
I think it'll get like nomination, but it'll be like, okay, we're gonna probably nominate it now, but then like down the line, it's gonna be it's gonna be like, well, it was a good movie, but
there'll probably be much better performances down the line. So we'll see.
Something else they do is gonna catch somebody else's eye and be like, all right, that's better.
Yeah,
that was good. This is better.
But you know what? I haven't seen a lot of Taraji's performances, but I think this is pretty great.
Yeah, because they completely transformed her.
Yeah,
and you were like, oh, that's. I know who she is, but it's like I don't recognize her in any ways.
And Sam Rockwell, I mean, didn't he play a racist as well in
Three Billboards?
Yeah, so I think he's getting kind of typecast in a way.
Yeah.
Sadly.
Which
Towards the end of
I
it.
don't want to see that for him. I like Sam Rockwell quite a bit.
Moon, Galaxy Quest.
Yeah, excellent in Galaxy Quest.
I want to see more. Like, I really want to.
I would rather him win his Oscar for Galaxy Quest than for Three Billboards, to be honest.
That's funny. Well, I'm glad he won it for anything because he's a great actor.
Yes.
Cool.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Moving on to a more lighthearted movie.
Yes.
Shazam.
Shazam.
The new DC Comics superhero epic. Basically, it's about a young kid who discovers a wizard who can transform people into gods, basically magical gods. And this boy Billy Batson, he's kind of like an outsider. He goes from foster home to foster home, and he encounters Shazam. Becomes Shazam or Captain Marvel. I'm a little confused about the Marvel Captain Marvel.
I'll
Before we get into the review,
I'm the resident
comic book nerd. Yes.
All right, so
please clarify.
The wizard Shazam. Basically, he empowers the 7 temples of all the Greek gods.
Isn't it the 7 sins, deadly sins?
The 7 deadly sins are the ones but it's the Roman gods that empower Captain Marvel.
Yep.
Okay.
They never get. It was just the name was the only thing he actually had to take on. I think.
So wait, anyone who says Shazam is Captain Marvel.
Basically.
Okay.
So except for when they kept hinting at it and they kept throwing it and then they were like, we're not gonna do that, and it's like, but they were definitely showing like little things where it's like, okay, Black Adam's eventually going to come in. This is going to happen. This is going to happen. The stupid worm keeps showing up. Like, wait a minute. I know that worm. I'm like, why is he like? I don't remember his name, but I remember that stupid worm.
Caterpillar.
And it was like it's an interdimensional caterpillar that burrows into your head and just slowly takes over you.
Kind of a spoiler, but where is he from exactly? Like what?
Which one?
The caterpillar. Because I have seen him in multiple.
He's an interdimensional being that just basically goes in, just causes chaos and.
Kind of like Mr. McZespidley?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
But he's more of the I'm there to take over everything and make it like this is mine.
Okay.
Where Mixplex is like, I just want to screw with people.
Have fun, yeah.
I'm screwing with people.
Oh my God. Caitlin, what do you think of Shazam? I have to say it like that every time.
Because it's got the exclamation point.
Yeah, you have to.
I really did like the movie. I did.
Yeah.
DC finally.
Finally.
Well, Aquaman was pretty damn good.
Aquaman was good, but I have a
Aquaman
lot
was
of issues with Aquaman.
Uh-oh.
Just because Jason Momoa is hot doesn't mean the movie was good. Okay, even though he was great.
I think Ryan Gosling, whatever, he should have been Aquaman.
But no, I think it was very funny. It was lighthearted. It was comedy. And I liked it as the origin story of Shazam. There were certain things that I was like,
Okay.
All right, because, every comic book nerd's like, why isn't it like the comic? And it's like, well, because it's a movie and it's other people's portrayal and stories, so that's why it's never going to be the way it is. But, but I did like it. I liked how his portrayal, his acting was amazing.
Zachary Levi?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or to Levy? Levy?
LeVay, something like that.
Okay. He was fantastic.
He was phenomenal.
I loved him.
I actually, to his performance, I actually put him in my head. What was his name from Split?
Oh,
David
Boy? Yeah.
Okay. That's where I put his performance at with him, and with when in Glass when he was like with the 100,000 people in his head. When because obviously playing a 14-year-old is fun, but you still have to be a 14-year-old, and you're like,
and I don't care if it's it's not really a spoiler, but there's a slight homage to the movie Big.
Oh, there's a lot of homages to Big.
I only noticed the piano.
Piano was one of them.
Yeah, the piano was the biggest one. The carnival, the fact that there's a pivotal scene involving a carnival.
Okay,
yeah. But there wasn't a Zoltar. There wasn't
a Zoltar,
but there was a wizard.
There's a wizard.
That's true. That's true.
Exactly.
Okay.
But also,
that's two big ones.
The biggest one that I found the funniest is when he walks up to the window and has a thing that says "Don't scream." Because
he said it to a mother.
Yep.
Or no, he said it to his friend.
Best friend
in the school. Right.
Don't scream.
And also the whole we're buying a lair.
Yeah.
It's like they went in trying to buy a house.
Yep.
And I was like, wow, that is just Big straight out. I kind of laughed a lot when I kept seeing it.
So it's basically a superhero movie meets Big.
Yeah.
Or like not really Deadpool type. humor. That's what I was expecting.
It's very Goonies-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
lighthearted.
Yeah, very like 80s kid team up.
Yeah,
So.
which I was looking so forward to because obviously the recent DC movies in the last 5 years have been super dark, super depressing and morbid. So it's really refreshing to see a movie like this come out.
Yeah.
With color.
Yeah.
There's color.
And his suit looked great.
The suit was pretty cool. I
He looked
liked it.
awesome.
Yeah.
And I mean, if DC continues to go down this route,
I'm not having my hopes up.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not getting my hopes up.
yeah.
They still have Batman versus Superman.
Yeah, okay. I'm
Well,
not
this-
even getting into that.
This movie did, however, throw major shade at Batman v Superman.
That was-
best. I still think that was probably the best.
That was the best scene.
I actually
Sorry.
said that as we left the theater.
Yep.
I'm like, that little scene was better than that movie
Yeah.
will
Yep.
ever be in.
Where he's playing with the action.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was
action
better than
figures.
Doing
movie.
this, I'm like, that was so much better than the movie.
Yep.
That's
Like, I'll watch that every day and just be happy.
Yes.
See, why couldn't DC just do the individual superhero origins and then lead up to the Justice League? Like,
Because that's
They
too
were
much
catching
for
up.
DC.
Yeah,
Because
at the
DC needs
time.
to get their stuff, like,
Yeah.
we need to get right in the middle of it. Everyone's confused. You walk into a 2.5-hour movie and it's like,
They were
What?
impatient.
They
Super
wanted
impatient.
to catch up
You know?
so fast.
They
were
do.
like, oh, we gotta
like
catch
what
up.
the heck happened with
They wanted to
Wonder
make
Woman?
money.
Like Wonder Woman was like the first glimmer of hope.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
And that even had
I'm gonna be honest.
small sparks of, oh God, why are they doing
Like the
this?
last fight scene.
Yeah, you
Yes,
wanna be-
and
yeah.
anytime she
Every
was doing
DC fight
anything,
scene-
like that was just slow mo. I was like, really?
even the fight scenes with those like demon ghost entities in this was not great.
Okay, the demon ghost entities, though, those look like the demon dogs from Ghostbusters.
Okay, yeah, some of
Yes.
them.
Didn't I say that?
Yeah.
They look like,
that-
they look like
I
ghosts.
was just
That
like,
looks like
where's
a terror
the
dog.
I was
Yeah.
like, where's Zool? I was
Yeah.
like, what's going on?
Immediately, I'm like,
Yep.
oh, yeah.
No originality though with those creatures.
Yeah, they could have made.
Oh.
And I don't
lot.
even think of them as the 7 deadly sins, honestly. I was just like, wow, you just picked 7. It's like
Horrific
horrific
creatures
creatures
and
and
said,
said,
"See ya."
cool, let's do this. Like,
I did like the gluttony one, though, that had, like, basically its whole body was like a mouth that
Yeah.
opened
That
up
was
and
cool.
had, like, the
That
teeth.
was the
That
only
makes
one
sense.
that I
That was-
could, that makes, that like you just said,
Yeah.
like, it made sense. But everything, like Lust, what was that? That was
I don't
weird.
even
Was
know
there even? I didn't even see
Lust
Lust.
was the one with the tongue, I think.
Yeah,
Oh,
with the
really?
giant tongue.
With the
that came
giant
out,
tongue,
yeah.
like,
Well,
what
that could
do you-
also be gluttony too. I
No,
mean,
gluttony
No,
was
Gluttony you
Gluttony
saw.
was
Yeah,
the-
just the one with the big freaking mouth.
That was the
and
mouth.
It was the
Yeah.
whole body
Okay.
just opened
Yeah,
up.
like
It was
those, like I didn't get Lust.
that was like the one aspect of this movie I didn't like. Those creatures.
I mean,
Yeah, the creatures look
I
good.
was
fine.
They look good, nice.
It was
but
not super
it was right
memorable.
for
Yeah.
this
But-
movie.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Because of the comedy aspect and the childish aspect and
Yeah.
you know what they were trying to portray. That's why I think they stuck with those kind of creatures and the way they looked. But if
Right.
it was something more serious, if DC went in a serious route with this movie,
Yeah.
those creatures would have been completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sad,
And
really.
it's really jarring to like in actually a good way for me. The boardroom scene when one of them just takes the bite off of like a guy, like bites a guy's head off.
Right, right.
Yeah, straight
I'm
up.
like, that's fantastic. That's like stuff like that I saw in like kids movies when I was growing up.
Yeah. Well, they didn't show the actual decapitation.
No, they didn't. Which
But
I that,
they-
which,
But, yeah.
which I did actually like about it. Like there was not gore. There wasn't that much gore,
Right.
but like you felt the fear and you were like, yeah, they're in a sticky situation in there. Like I ain't going to
And
that
speaking
boardroom.
of that scene,
you know?
John Glover plays the chairman of the board. Who
Yep.
he has like a history with the main villain, Mark Strong.
Which again, he
Yeah.
plays a fantastic villain.
Right.
Yeah,
And he
he
was
was
also
awesome.
He was also Sinestro.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
gonna say,
in Green Lantern,
The
Yep.
doomed Green Lantern.
Yeah.
We don't speak of
disgusting-
that
the
movie,
No.
but
Green Lantern movie. He played Sinestro, and he was a fantastic
he was
villain.
awesome.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just
Loved
like,
it.
I'm just gonna be, I'm evil.
They could have
You can
extended
tell.
that. They could have made a
He
Green
had
Lantern
like
2.
even if like what was the scene when they were before like the main fight when they were flying? And he's like, I can't.
Oh God.
Yes.
That was funny.
That
Yes.
was the
Why
funniest
there-
thing.
that
was
You're
funny.
doing something. I can't hear
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
I'm looking at your mouth. It's just
I-
that.
yeah.
See, that's the type of humor
Yeah.
we need
And I
in
was
these
like,
movies. Like,
Yeah.
But if I was a 14-year-old doing, like, if that ever happened with me, I'd be like, yeah, I can't hear you either. I'd do the
Yeah.
same thing. And that's
Yeah.
why I liked how he got into this character so much. Plus, what did I told him, I was like, I liked how they introduced the entire family, and they didn't wait.
Yes.
They were like, here you go. This is what you want. I'm giving it to you.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was just, I was so stoked. He saw me, I was like, yes. He's like, calm down there.
She's like, oh my God.
Yeah, the whole handling of the family I thought was really wonderful. And actually having a positive portrayal of a foster family in the media never happens. Almost never happens. The only one I can think of is like This Is Us as another positive portrayal of a foster family.
Is that with Magliolo?
Yeah,
I can't.
You know the guy.
Yeah.
I've seen the show. I just,
what's his name? Joe Magli? No.
Milo.
Milo.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
From Heroes.
Vince Biglia.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and Mandy Moore. Yeah.
So that's about foster kids as well.
There's a major storyline involving a family choosing to become a foster family.
Oh, okay.
So.
Cool. I could even see that as like its own series.
Like. Yeah, like especially like the youngest girl who actually is from This Is Us. She was fantastic in this. Just, I mean, absolutely stellar little actress.
Okay.
So
cool.
That's still like the funniest thing. She's like sitting there and every time they're like talking, she's just shoving food in her mouth. She's like, I'm brooding. I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about.
And then all of a sudden, it's like everything
figures it out.
everything comes out. It's like, yes, I can talk again. They're like, you do? Yes.
I'm a good sister.
I do have to say though, as evil as Mark Strong is in this movie, nothing is as evil as the scene right before basically the big ending sequence. Nothing is as evil as that conversation that he has at the apartment. Do you guys know? You're looking at me with blank faces. I'm trying not to give anything away to our viewers. The conversation.
Yes.
I was visibly upset by this conversation.
Wait.
Someone abdicating their responsibility to someone else. Entirely abdicating and saying, well, it looks like you landed on your feet.
Yeah. In the apartments.
I'm still trying to go through the movie. I'm going through the movie right now in my head, trying to figure it out.
There was a house with the foster family.
When he went to the apartments.
Yes.
And then he went to the roof.
Yeah.
She needs to walk away. Shut the door. Don't even answer.
She is the villain of the movie.
Yes.
I got so angry. I was like, because I've known people in my life that I've heard stories that they've actually went and found their, their biological parents, and it was just like,
okay, thank you.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just like.
Eventually got to the party.
Thank you.
Yes, sorry.
Okay.
I should have just come out and said it, but
no,
I was
that's
trying
a
not to
spoiler.
spoil
That's
things.
a spoiler. Thank you.
Sorry, but I visibly got it.
That scene was not handled well at all.
No, I thought it was handled very well.
I thought it was
handled extremely well.
I don't know. There could have been.
I like the strength of how he. The strength that he had afterwards.
And I love the way that they have the scene again with them at the carnival when he gets separated from her and having it from her perspective, where he has this very rosy version of it in his head that he has in his memory from when he was a kid, and it's like, no, from her side of it.
Yeah.
She was just.
It's entirely different. Yeah. Entirely different.
It was
so
a
messed
whole
up.
different story, and it was just like, wow.
Yeah. That's a separate movie, I think. That's totally separate.
Doesn't need to be.
Yeah.
Sorry. It doesn't need to be.
It was perfect the way it was.
So
yes.
Do you guys see Shazam 2?
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Yes.
You can't pull,
I'll be there
you brought
opening
the
night.
family in. They had a lot of screen time, that I thought.
Rich characters, great performances, especially from Levy.
Yep.
And
but you can't just bring the family in and then just be like,
oh, we're done with
that's
movies.
it, we're done. Shazam's good. You're like, no, you can't do that.
I want to see more of this.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I think it's doing pretty well box office wise, so
it's gonna be number
I
one.
expect it'll be
the surprise at the end,
yes.
which I'm not going to give that away because I actually had to explain all the little things that went into that last scene, and I'm just sitting there going, oh, that was what they were talking about, and that's why this happened, and that's why we had so many stories of, oh, by the way, this might not this might not happen. It's like, okay, I understand now. But it was funny as hell.
Yeah, it was funny. I was expecting Deadpool, but I was happy with the results. This was kind of like it was like a PG-13 Deadpool in a way.
Yeah, it was a very family-friendly, like sort of Fantastic Four type movie.
Yeah.
I felt like
Good sense of humor. My favorite scene is in the convenience store. Even though they used a lot of that footage in the trailer, they expand upon it.
Go Batman! It was just like.
I'm going to take some of your finest beer there.
yeah.
Gentlemen.
Shoot him in the face. Shoot me in the face.
or heck, the Gentleman's Club sequence.
Yes.
Oh my
Oh
goodness.
my
The what
God.
sequence?
The
That
Gentleman's
was
Club
still
sequence.
Nice.
Both
Kept
of
going
those
back.
sequences. Yes.
Nice.
Why did you think of this place? It's the first place you want to go back. I don't know. Remember this?
Well, hey guys, we only have a
Unforgettable.
we only have a minute, unfortunately, guys. So, any plugs? What's going on in your lives? Anything you want to talk about?
Let's see. You can find me on Twitter at Rachel E. Kolb, and that's Kolb with a K.
Cool.
My usual baloney, my usually laundry list of crap that I have to plug, but I'll just say find me at GB, Shaky GB on Facebook. Make sure to also EternalCon is going to be coming up soon, so
yes.
anybody wants to, make sure you stay on top of their website. We have a lot more guests that are actually showing up.
Oh, good.
More and more of actually, and they're bigger names, getting faster and faster.
I have to check the site again. Sure.
Absolutely.
Nothing really.
No.
You know, just
Okay.
sorry, my
That's cool.
insulin
Thank you for
thing
being
is going
here.
off. You can find me, Lithy's Cosplay on Instagram, Lithy's Cosplay on Facebook. Doing EternalCon with this one, trying to work things out at this point.
Awesome.
Waiting for movies.
I just remembered I actually have two quick plugs. Very
Okay.
quick.
Yes, please.
Quick plug for The Magnificent Revengers. I'm not involved with it personally, but I saw it this past week. They're playtesting it at the People's Improv Theater currently. Tickets are free. You can find them online on Eventbrite. It's fantastic. It's a choose-your-own-adventure Western stage show. Absolutely worth checking out. And then second plug, this weekend was the series finale for Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, which is an incredible show. First 3 seasons are on Netflix, and this was the 4th season I just finished up. It is entirely on the CW app. If you have not seen it, check it out. It's some of the best TV I've seen in recent years.
Awesome.
The only TV I'm waiting for is Game of Thrones. And that's
Oh,
about
no.
like 10 days.
Well, I saw that this week.
Oh, cool. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for being here, as always. Great guests.
Thank you for having us.
And some plugs for Magnitude Jewelry. April 10th, Mindy's Psychic Fair in Plainview, Long Island. April 28th, the Awaken Fair in Tarrytown, New York. May 7th, the Psychic Fair in Plymouth, Massachusetts. May 11th, the Holistic Fair in Chicago, Illinois. May 16th, the Boom Business Expo at the Hilton Hop Hog in Long Island. May 19th, the Psychic Fair at the Hampton Inn. June 19th, the Psychic Fair at the Courthouse Marriott. So, guys, again, thank you. And,
Thank you.
Welcome back anytime, you know that. And I've been your host, Randy Unger, with Unger the Radar, and we'll see everyone next week. Take care, guys.
Under the Radar is all new next week with more movie reviews and interviews on Strong Island Radio and Television. Stay tuned. We'll see you next week.